Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I have Megan with us, and she is going to share her story of her fitness journey, her health journey, and macro counting. So, welcome to the podcast, Megan.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here. And I am an avid listener to your podcast. So what an honor. What an honor to be here.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that you're listening in. So, who are you and what do you do?
Yes, I am Megan Bull. I am a proud former client of yours, Kelly, and I currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee. And what do I do? I work for Amazon. I my role to quickly put it into a nice package. It's easiest to say I'm a part of the HR realm. But the organization that I lead is acts as like an internal consultant within the HR realm around talent management, diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to the health of the organization. So really proud uh, to be in this role, and yeah, happy to be here.
So, super interesting. You're super busy living in an amazing, busy city for sure.
Yes,
So, what
yes.
did your eating, your health, your fitness, and your physique look like prior to counting macros?
You know, it's been a journey for me ever since I became an adult, an independent adult, um, post post schooling, where you're living literally on your own. It has been a great opportunity to have delved into my health. And I'm a firm believer that it's the people that you have around you that inspire you, that encourage you to make healthy changes. So when I was fresh out of school, I was an employee of GE, and that group of friends at that season in life was so inspiring to be active, dive into what health looks like. Now, of course, we had a great time in our 20s. So I'm not discounting that it was all health and no woohoo fun.
Right.
There was plenty of that. But all this to say, it has been a nice evolution of health, fitness, what diet looks like. However, when we're looking, gosh, when I think back to how long ago that was about 15 years ago. Oh, so much has changed in our society on what health is. So, having grown up on, if you're healthy, it's low fat. If you're healthy, it's frozen vegetables. Now, I'm not poo-pooing on any of those, but the layers of health and what fits our body types is very, very different. So, Cal, I think this is a long-winded way of saying it's been a journey, and every step of the way, I think I'm getting better. I think I'm learning more. But it wasn't until I met you 3 years ago, I think it was 2021, when you and I started working together, that it was like, listen, I'm doing all these things. I'm eating, quote unquote, what's healthy. I've been, at that particular time, really trying to focus on clean eating. And clean eating is great. But if you're not eating the right ratios when we think about macros, you could be getting nowhere, along with pairing that with appropriate fitness. So I'm going to pause right here because that was a very long-winded answer to your question.
Well, I think first off, surrounding yourself in the early years with like-minded people definitely helped, even though you were out having fun. And, you are who you surround yourself with. But then also growing up in the fat-free era that kind of our parents
Oh,
introduced us to, fat-free slices of
yeah,
cheese and fat-free this and fat-free that. Then moving on to whole foods. You need to eat whole foods, but then also knowing whole foods, and I teach no good food, no bad food. So it removes the guilt
great.
and shame, but you can overeat, avocado.
Oof,
So
preach.
yeah,
Yes.
just knowing that even if you're eating all the whole foods, perhaps you may not be getting the right ratios of what you need. And if it's weight loss that you're looking for, that calorie deficit as is what is needed. So thank you
So
for
much.
sharing that. Can you think about any bad habits you had when you were younger? And tell us about your journey now.
Yeah, no shame here, even though it's hard to articulate overeating. And it's so easy to do that when that could be your upbringing or that could just be a part of it. And I was always that kid that was a part of the Clean Plate Club. And for the longest time, and I think it's something that can be really funny. And that was my experience growing up. And as a kid, you either metabolize it or you don't. So I was always that kid, of course, not including young kid. We're all a bit a bit chubby naturally. But I was always that kid that could eat and could put it away, as they say. So when I think about the humor that comes with that and the natural ability to put it away, it's a tee up for bad habits down the road. So that I believe will always be a core uh, concern, maybe, but awareness on managing the quantities in which I'm eating. So I think that, when I think about our next generation on the things that come out of my mouth as a proud auntie, that, you know, I can see kids putting it away. And again, it can be funny, but it is so important to me that I nip that and I control that.
Right. Yes, you are so right about the habits. That's where it all comes from. Even though you were able to eat as much as you want and still, be skinny or have the body type that you wanted to, the habits that were forming that were harder to break, as the years went on, that's what we need to concentrate on. So anybody listening that has children, you really have to concentrate on the habits and the words that come out of your mouth.
1,000%. I love that highlight there. It's just so important.
It is. What does a day of eating look like for you? People are always curious about what people eat.
Totally. Well, now might be a good time to just shed some light on what the last several months have been like for me,
Yes.
because my lifestyle looks, you know, dare I say, very different than it did when macro counting worked seamless for me when we were working together in 2021. So, within the last several months, I have recently been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, this is in that autoimmune family. And when we look at statistics, women predominantly are so prone to autoimmune diseases, deficiencies, as well as, a partner handshake are hormone, thyroid issues. So I had some really big life changes this past year. Prior to moving to Nashville last year, the 4 years prior to that, I've been living and working abroad in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is within Europe, a teeny tiny little country. So all this to say, it's an incredible breeding ground for autoimmune situations, thyroid hormone issues to pop up in the midst of high level stress. Now, as we know, stress is just a part of the everyday, and it's so important that we're managing it. But, there are seasons of life that come at you out of nowhere and can really be impactful without us knowing to our health and what could be coming down the pike. So that was my experience, especially within 2024. I had just done this big move. Of course, reacclimating back to the States, starting a new job, all of the things. And I just was at a place where was really brought to my knees with how my body was feeling. It was incredibly scary. Throughout this past year of establishing myself here in Nashville, of course, you're wanting to get your doctors established. So my story on what I was experiencing went hand in hand with establishing doctors. So when we think about doctors for someone like me who's 39 years young, it is a female doctor. It is a rheumatologist. And just to quickly shed light, I like to think of myself as an autoimmune disease expert. Gosh, what do I mean by that? I was diagnosed with systemic lupus when I was 16 years old. So I have been able to carry that with me and all of my learning. As I'm so proud to say, I've been in remission for the last 15 years. I don't take that lightly. So, all this to be said, while I was establishing my doctors, I was relying on the medical teams to help me. And not to say that they didn't. I'm a firm believer that everybody is doing their best in their line of work. Um, that said, I can't stress this enough that we individually have to be our own best advocates. When you're not getting the support or the answers, we don't just succumb. We don't just say, okay, I must be crazy. Now, a term that is very thrown out there, and I'm very cautious, but you might hear it, gaslighting, medical gaslighting. And again, I want to be very gentle that everybody's doing their best. But all this to say, I can't stress enough, we have to be our own best advocate. So it wasn't until late summer, early fall of this year, so not that long ago, my chiropractor said, hey, I know an endocrinologist that might be outside of your network, but gosh, she could be really helpful to you. So, all this to say, it was the best money I could spend out of network, out of pocket to get the answers that I needed. And that led me to that diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And then further diving into, oh my gosh, there are foods that I'm eating that we may consider pretty good for us, maybe healthy, but they're not helpful to Hashimoto's thyroiditis and can cause inflammation without us realizing. So between tweaking food, getting supplements that are prescribed by the doctor and a prescription, my life has changed. I have lost a good amount of weight in a short period of time, and I say that because the medicine that I have been on is a anti-inflammatory medication. And all this to say, there was so much inflammation in my 5'2" um, body. And you cannot lose weight or make appropriate changes when your body is not showing up for you, when your body is extremely fatigued. So, um, Cal, I'm trying to get to your question. I'm so
What
sorry.
does a day of
Um,
eating look like for you? Yes.
Yes. So now a day in
Thanks.
eating is definitely surrounded by macros. Um, but the tweaking that has been involved is leaning into those healthy, or I hate the coined word healthy. We're going
Right.
to nix that. Dietary fats. That's something that I have always been, oh gosh, I don't want to be adding fat to my diet if I don't need those calories. But in my journey, I've learned that through tweaking my macros, leaning into those needed dietary fats, can really do a body good. So, in addition to learning what foods go well and support an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, as well as staying away from those foods that don't serve you. So I've learned a lot in the last several months, but it's an ongoing journey.
Yes, it always is. And pairing it along with exercise, like having that dynamic duo, your body responds to certain foods that make you feel good, less inflammation, and then also moving your body. So, what does a week of exercise or moving your body look like for you?
Yeah, this has been a hard one. I have been someone, especially when I think back to 2021, 2022, my body, my issues really started, I'd say midway through 2023. I prior to that was in the best shape of my life with the help of you, Kel. The macros were fire for me, and pairing that with really loving the gym. And I previously was always a class kind of gal. I love feeding off people's energy, and that's a great form of exercise. But because of you, I really delved into the weight room, and my body changed through that. Um, Again, I can't say it enough. I look back at pictures a little bit longingly right now, knowing that I will get there. But where I am today, speaking of the inflammation, exercise is so important to I don't want to say minimize, but the exercise that I'm used to and what gives me beautiful endorphins really is not what my body needs right now. So it is still a tug of war for me. Exercise is incredibly important to me. But right now I'm leaning heavy into long walks with
Yes.
my dog. So that used to just be like an appetizer to my exercise. And now that is really taking the forefront. I am a member of Orange Theory. Love Orange Theory. It kind of contradicts, oh, that's some high intensity. However, based on convenience and life, it works. But they've been so good to me by saying, hey, if you want to pop in for a quarter of a class, half a class, more, you just do you, girl, and we're there to cheer you on. So, with Orange Theory, kind of half the cardio running, the other half being maybe the rowing station and the weight floor. So, I'm really picking and choosing, but going from what I'm used to down to where I am now, it's uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable, but I know that's what my body needs right now.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, especially about the Orange Theory Fitness. I like to incorporate the all or something. So you didn't just say, I'm just not going to go because I can't do it all and I'm
Right.
embarrassed. I used to be able to do it all. I want to be able to do it all. My body's not allowing me to right now. So I'm just going to go in and do this portion of it. And then also the walking. I cannot stress, so many people think that it's the exercise that causes, the weight loss when it's really the nutrition. So I say this all the time. My clients that lose the most weight, they count their macros, eating what serves their body and walking. And
Mhm.
that's it. So I
Yes.
love that you share that part of your journey because you did love the strength training. And that's very hard to come down to when you want to, air quotes, just walking, which
Yeah.
walking is so underrated. Underrated
Hmm.
1,000%, especially, this day and age when everybody's sitting for work. And
Yeah.
so I'm so glad that you are incorporating that. So,
Thanks.
what is one takeaway that you want anybody listening to absorb that is on the fence about trying to count macros?
Oh my gosh. I think of our time together, Kelly, as true foundational information that regardless of what life throws at me, at us, as it does and will, um, it is it's a foundation that I always come back to. Of course, as we progress in life and aging, Those macros are tweaked, but the core understanding is there. So pairing that with the understanding of and the honest realization, had I met you and started working with you during the time frame of my body changing and not knowing about the inflammation and the Hashimoto's, I would have said, Kelly, I believe that this works for people, but this does not work for me. So I say that with exclamation points around it, that it's so important to listen to our bodies. So if, please do your own research on what it is your body is experiencing, just at a very high level. I experienced extreme fatigue, fatigue that hurt inside of my core, body aches, healthy amount of hair loss. And I mean that kind of contradicting, but um, just at a very high level, those were the things. So when your body is not showing up for you the way that you think it should, or you don't feel at home in your body, that is a great indication to say, I I need to be my own best advocate and go out and seek the appropriate support. And again, going back to the medical realm, if you're not getting the answers that you need, uh, do not stop. We need to continue and be our own best advocate. I'm a broken record on that point. So pairing macros and health advocacy together is just a huge takeaway that would I stress for people and those that are listening.
Yes, definitely being your own advocate. I cannot say that enough. You know, doctors may like you, they may even love you, but they're not going to follow your every day or every month what's going on with you and your body. So, and doing your
Right.
research, getting involved in other groups that may be suffering with the same issues. But then I love that you say that macro counting was your base. So it educates you on what your body needs and the bigger quantities, the protein, the carbs, and the fats. And you can fill those the way that you need to for your body and your hormonal issues. So anybody can count macros. I get asked that question all the time. Will this work for me? Can I count macros? Whether it's diabetes or an autoimmune disease, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody can count macros. So
Mhm.
just knowing that it's based on science, it's not some sort of fad diet where you have to cut out this or cut out that. Super
Right.
flexible, not restrictive. And I give you your macro budget and you fill it the way that you want to.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like that plays into how so many of us were raised, like we have a checklist. We know what we, can do to fill it or, check off the boxes. Um, when I think about, macro counting, the execution of it makes so much sense. That's easy. It's the willpower and holding the self accountability that is the biggest, most challenging part of it all.
Yes. Yep. And that's why you reach out to a coach because if you haven't done it on your own, you're not going to start to do it now.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you, Megan, so much for sharing your story with us. I know that it will resonate with so many people out there. And don't hesitate to, reach out to me if you feel like you need coaching or I have the Clubhouse, which is a monthly membership, which is super helpful to keep you on track and hold you accountable, which we know is key, and consistency, of course.
Yes.
Consistency
Yes. What you are doing for your community and so much more that haven't discovered you yet is just it's jaw-dropping in the best way. So it works and the numbers speak to it. So I'm really thankful for you, Cal.
Oh, so thankful for you. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.